Welcome to the Expresso Consciência, the podcast that connects cutting-edge science and innovation with practical market solutions. In our upcoming episodes, we'll be sharing an espresso with some European sustainability leaders in our special series called Challenges and Opportunities in Sustainability in the Age of AI. So my name is Liliane. I'm a sustainability strategist and corporate training sustainability innovation. So today I have the honor of welcome Sandhya Sabapathy, a global sustainability leader and founder of Kaleidoscope, a product accelerator focused on sustainability and business resilience. So Sandhya has led initiatives that align environmental and social responsibility with financial performance. So scaling like multi-million dollar purpose-led like innovations with measurable commercial impact. So today we will explore how AI can transform reporting, compliance, ethical risks, and of course the future of sustainability. So Sandhya, it's a pleasure to have you here with us.
Thank you so much for having me, and it's nice to have a quick espresso with you.
Okay, so let's dive into our first question. So how can AI make sustainability reports more reliable, and why is data collection still such a tall challenge?
Thank you. I think it's a really good question. And if we want to claim that AI is not going to be used by sustainability leaders across the board, that's not true. I think I'm a proponent of using AI in the right places at the right time when it comes to sustainability. When it comes to reporting, I think the reason why people struggle a lot is because whether you're looking at the European sustainability reporting standards or Australian or UK, the number of data points that a company, especially a large company, has to connect is huge. So on average, for example, for the 2000 reports that are going to come out over this year for European companies, it's about 1,800 KPIs or metrics, so which is a lot. And that's what leaders are struggling with, to not just identify the right sources of data, but to collect the data in a way that's manageable, so it can get translated into a report, but also further from the report can be used for risk, opportunity modeling, business cases, etc. So that's where I think AI can really help. But what I'd say is that you need to have a pretty good understanding of the flow of data, the location of data, and how exactly you want to model the data. Because if you use AI to just collect it and report information for you, the narrative would be inaccurate, as well as it will not be necessarily future facing. So I think 100% use AI for report writing and data collection. For data collection, use maybe specific providers that already are used to data collection and then embed AI on top. And for report writing, I would say, of course, to shorten your reports, as well as decrease the time for you to collect the information, write these reports, use AI, but definitely still have a human touch when it comes to the final narrative.
Yeah, sure. Like AI is a great of at spotting inconsistency in ESG data, but the hardest part is still collecting clean, comparable data from suppliers. So let's take the step further. So can AI really understand complex topics like human rights or diversity, or do we still need human judgment?
So for this one, right off the top of my head, I think the answer is very simple. I think the answer is no. It's AI and AGI that's being developed. It's not going to be ready to understand human connection, human thought, diversity of thought, but also probably more importantly, it's not supposed to, right? The way to collect stories, translate it into reports, but also bring in the complexities tied to what religion, race, or complexities tied to geopolitics, etc. It is going to be human-led. It always will be human-led. And I think that there is, again, a space to use AI as a tool, but it's not going to replace human connection in this space. And I always think AI should augment, not replace. So that's my thoughts on that particular topic. But what do you think?
Yeah, like AI can highlight patterns of risk, right? But when it comes like to human rights or diversity, human judgment remains irreplaceable. Like as you said, you know. So I agree totally with you. Like can accelerate some things, but not replace. You know. So and that brings also me like the next point, like which new technologies like IoT or big data are already helping companies collect better sustainability data.
I think let's maybe take an example to explore this one. So out of all of sustainability data, the metrics or the most science-based analogies that we have right now is in climate. So, and even for climate, it's a process where the data keeps getting better and better for companies over a period of time. So if you would use a tool like, say, Normative or Persephone, what those tools do is they rely on certain frameworks and ensure, for example, carbon emission factors, etc., are aligned naturally and nationally. But the more important thing for me is that it's able to crunch massive amounts of data extremely quickly and everything doesn't sit in a bunch of Excel sheets. Now, for big data is where it kind of maybe bring that element in, because data is not just about collection and conversion into a certain metric and reporting. It's how can you take that to understand what's next for the company. And carbon reduction is an easy one from a storyline perspective, but how does it interlink with your products, with your services, with how you want to communicate your long-term strategy? So the value creation bit, that's where I think we can use technologies like big data to be able to translate everything that we have through science-based metrics and technology into something that's consistent, that speaks through company strategy across the board. Because I think in general, all companies are not tech companies. All companies are crunching huge amounts of data, whether it comes to financial models or if they're building any tech-based product. So I think just like any other product or service, this is where you can also use it for climate data or ESG data as well. So I'm gonna take the angle of big data here. I know you asked me for IoT and 5G as well. But I think of the three, if we're just talking about AI and sustainability, that's the one that comes to my mind first.
For me, IoT and big data are already mapping these emissions and resources in real time. So like this transforming ESG like reporting for static to dynamic. So but yeah, like the struggle thing, it's most of the time sustainability, it's not based on real data. So I think like technology will help it in this path. So but of course, like with power comes also responsibility, right? So what are the biggest ethical risks when using AI for sustainability, and how can we avoid them?
I think to start off with that from an ethical standpoint, there just needs to be a lot more awareness and knowledge building about AI. I think just using tools because they make your life easier isn't necessarily just the starting point, right? It's you're replacing valuable detailed, deep thinking with convenience. So I think from a sustainability leader perspective, you should probably view AI as something you learn as a lifelong learning skill on top of all of the other things that you have to maybe learn or keep up with. So from an ethical standpoint, I think you have to be very careful with the decision-making kind of inflection points that you give to AI. So if it is data collection, if it is writing a high-level TCFD report to start off with, I think that's still all right. But making sure that you cross-reference and check and align with what exactly the company values are, but also what you want to accomplish from an impact standpoint. AI can't do that. AI shouldn't do that. And understanding that that's where the role of AI is in your sustainability journey, I think is super important. So I don't think there are dramatic ethical issues to use AI if you use it correctly. And I say that if you use it correctly. And in the conversation with should you use AI because it is a huge consumption. I mean, there's huge consumption of water as well as electricity to actually run these data centers. I would say, as with any technology, if it's only doing that, only being extractive is problematic long term. But if you're able to use the technology, in this case AI, to not just be extractive, but create the solutions of the future, then I think you can balance out the value you use to tech. So ethically, I would say for a lot of sustainability leaders, you are almost the moral compass of the company in many ways. So having very strong judgment with what AI does is extremely important. And that doesn't come from a gut feel. It doesn't come from this is the right thing to do. It comes with knowledge. It comes with understanding how AI models are built, how information is stored, what kind of data privacy bandwidth AI actually has. So I would say, from an ethics perspective, the best way to use AI well is to understand how it works in the first place.
Oh, for sure, like the biggest risk is blind trust, right? The transparency and explainability are the only way like to make AI a trustworthy ally in the ESG. And also you said about the water consumption. That's the importance like to see the sustainability projects as a strategy. So circularity in this kind of construction, it's not just like a conscious thing, but also like a strategy one to the proper use of that, you know. So, and speak of trust, like here's my final question. With the new rules and regulations coming, how can AI be a game changer for compliance instead of a risk?
So I think with ethics and rules tied to AI, there's still a lot more work that needs to be done. But I know the US is trying to lead in designing these frameworks. As long as these frameworks or these key rules that fall under compliance is actually enacted on, I think we will be mostly okay. The problem with compliance is um, it's only an issue if it stays at a policy level. It doesn't move down into implementation, it doesn't move down into training and awareness, and then it doesn't move down into behavior. So my biggest thing with this is if you are regulating AI, which you 100% should, ensure that the compliance doesn't just become a barrier or a tick boxing exercise from a policy standpoint. It has to go all the way down to behavior and training. If not, it will just be another bureaucratic hurdle to jump over, and companies that can jump over it will and move towards, using fines as opposed to actually doing the hard work and embedding compliance to a behavior standpoint. So my take on this is that I think AI can do a lot because AI can minimize the amount of work that you actually do from a bureaucracy standpoint, but only if the policy moves from frameworks to actually action and implementation.
Also with the CSRD, and supply chain laws arriving, like AI can turn compliance from a call center into a competitive advantage. So it's something that we also say like accelerate the interpretation of data. So it can be like a real advantage. So yes, Sandhya, thank you so much for sharing your vision and how AI can transform sustainability. If you have some final sentence or something that you would like to advise our audience, so feel free.
Thank you so much for having me, firstly. And I think what I want to leave everyone with is that don't shy away from learning about AI and embedding it into your day-to-day, but treat it just like we treat anything in sustainability. It's a moving piece that we have to keep on top of, whether it's circularity regulation or the plastics treaty, etc. Sustainability people, I think, are very good at learning things very quickly and implementing. And I'd say do the same for AI. Don't be afraid to use it. And when you do use it, make sure you are the moral compass and you guide other people to use it well as well.
So thank you so much for your participation. And to everyone who is listening, I'd like to invite you to join our channel, exclusive workshop designed for sustainability leaders who wants to use the artificial intelligence to accelerate their sustainable project. You'll find the registration link and all the details in the descriptions of this episode, as well as on my social media. So stay tuned for more conversations with our special guests here in the channel. So see you in the next episode of the Espresso Consciência.